Let's hear from our next speaker then, who is the author of the tagline, Stockholm, the capital of Scandinavia. So, Julian, please tell us about the branding of Stockholm, how that came to be.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Stockholm brand, talk a little bit about branding in general as well, and specifically place branding and place marketing. Now, when I first came to Sweden a number of years ago, somebody said to me, Stockholm is the Venice of the North. And I thought, well, you were just talking about positioning, and I thought, wow, Venice of the North, that's a positioning. Now, the only downside to that, in my brain, my marketing brain, it says, so we're the number 2 Venice. We're the second-rate Venice. And it was kind of worse than that, because I'd also heard the same thing said about Bruges, I'd heard the same thing said about St. Petersburg. So we were competing to be the number 2 Venice in the world. Now, as a marketing person, that isn't a great positioning. You really do have to have something you can own and make your own. And it kind of got more confusing than that as a picture, because at the same time, we were saying all of these different things. We were talking about beauty on water. We were talking about gateway to Northern Europe. Biotech was important, so we talked about biotech. ICT is obviously important. We talked about ICT. And the trouble is with all of that, the more you say, the less people understand and the less they hear, and the more confusing it gets in terms of a positioning. So you really do have to be crisp and clear and find that center point in what you're talking about. So that was really the starting point for my engagement and my involvement. We built the brand upon 3 distinctive legs. We talked about the culture capital of Scandinavia, and I'm thinking there about all the fantastic museums, things like today, things like the Nobel Prizes, all the great cultural events we've got in Stockholm. We talk about the geographic center of Scandinavia being the absolute center point of our definition of Scandinavia. And we talk about the business capital, most capital investment, the biggest stock market, the most companies. We built that leg as one of the legs as well. Positioning, and I'm going to kind of come back to that because it's probably one of my biggest focuses, finding a unique position. And positioning is all about finding a space in people's minds. What do they think about you and your brand? That is absolutely the first thing you have to consider. And like regular business, place marketing is competitive as well. We're up against other places where we compete for inward investment and tourism dollars. So it's a competitive business, much like any other business. So place marketing, if we think about regular brands and regular business, these are some of the disciplines we'd expect to find and put in place for any brand. Great brands are consistent, they're persistent, and they keep things really simple. You've got to keep things simple to cut through all the background noise that's going on in the marketplace. Architecture is a fantastic way, again, of leveraging and positioning a brand. And you think of some of the world's big cities, London, Paris. More importantly, you think of Bilbao. And what do you do when you've got not a lot to say about a place? You build a fantastic museum and actually use that as a center point. Think of Australia in the 1950s, the battle between Melbourne and Sydney. Melbourne had just been awarded the Olympics, so what did Sydney do? Invested in a fantastic competition for the Opera House and actually pulled ahead, and again used architecture as a leverage point. And events, obviously we've heard about Barcelona. I think one of the outstanding springboards, platforms to catapult a place into the stratosphere of place branding, been so successful. Stockholm brand is yours, and it's yours to develop, and absolutely key, you're absolutely key in developing it and really delivering on its promise. So different, similar? Well, as I said, it's more complex with place marketing. It's more demanding for specific reasons, but many of the traditional brand building techniques you have to apply. So as I say, it's both different and similar.